welcome everyone to 284 News. My name is Javon Wilson.
I'm Kamal Haynes.
And I'm Ron Grant.
And we are so thrilled and happy to be coming to you live out of the beautiful British Virgin Islands. The content continues via our website, 284media.com. In today's news, a new Mu variant of COVID-19 was previously detected in the BVI, says Dr. Georges. Global experts worry that it may be resisting the vaccine.
And fully vaccinated travelers to be immediately approved on BVIGATEWay Portal once documents are submitted correctly.
Top doctor also urging residents to abide by health protocols and get vaccinated following the confirmation of Mu variant in the territory.
And a commission of inquiry met with another hurdle as Attorney General requests for redaction of critical information that could impact COI's investigations. And we also see the Isabella Morris Primary School to become first of 3 junior schools on Tortola, with the works to commence following demolition. We get to these stories when 284 News returns.
You value traditions. Today, you value music. You value education. Family.
I love you.
Service.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Love. Life. At Popular, we're committed to you and everything our community values. For the things you value the most, count on us. Popular.
Well, welcome everyone. It's Wednesday, September 8th, 2021. I'm Kamal Haynes.
And my name is Javon Wilson. Of course, we are coming to you live out of the beautiful British Virgin Islands with your daily dose of 284 News. Viewers, we're going to head straight into it. Now, the newly detected Mu or B1621 COVID-19 variant, which was designated by the World Health Organization as a variant of interest last week, has been detected here in the British Virgin Islands. Mu, first detected in Colombia, has already spread to 39 countries, including the USVI, and is now being monitored by global health bodies, some of which worry that it may have the ability to evade vaccine protections. Now, speaking to the patterns during a GIS update was the acting chief medical officer, Dr. Ronald Georges, who confirmed the detection of the Mu variant locally.
This same variant that has been identified, it was identified previously in the BVI, right? At that time, it was not a variant of interest. So it was reported as neither a variant of interest or variant of concern. So now a little more information is known about it, and it is now labeled as a variant of interest. So
now, viewers, if there are changes to the virus, that means that it looks like it has the potential to do more harm, then it is designated as a variant of interest. Dr. George has expanded on this, and ultimately, what constitutes a mutant as an area of interest versus an area of concern?
So when we have a little more information about how a variant behaves in terms of, let's look at immune status, how does vaccination impacted, how does prior infection, immunity from prior infection impacted? Is it able to escape immunity? Is it now able to displace the variants in that population? Is it looking like it's going to do that? Is it causing more severe disease? So all of these things which are now of public health importance and have the ability to impact how the pandemic plays out, then that variant becomes known as a variant of concern. And as it becomes a variant of concern, then the public health response to it changes, more information is collected. And that's basically what happened with Delta. So Delta is now a variant of concern. And essentially in most of the populations where Delta is found, it is able to replace the existing variants and become the main variant in that population. So I hope that...
Like Dr. George has mentioned, Mu has changes called mutations, which means it might be able to evade some of the protection given from COVID vaccines. This is according to studies by global health bodies, something that Dr. Georges also spoke to.
It's being looked at very closely in terms of to identify its characteristics. It has some mutations which have been identified as affecting immunity in terms of the vaccines and natural immunity. So that's still being elucidated. In terms of the populations it impacts and the severity of disease it causes and the infectiousness of it, it's still being elucidated as to how it would behave.
Now, viewers, there is one reassuring element here about the Mu variant, and that is, despite being around since January 2021, it doesn't seem to be outcompeting Delta, which is the dominant variant across most of the world. Just yesterday, Dr. Ty Hunt Caesar, the Department of Health Infectious Disease Specialist in the U.S. Virgin Islands, said that the Delta variant continues to be the most prevalent COVID strain in the USVI. She said, and I quote, "It accounts for 91% of cases sequenced at the close of August within the territory and 99% nationwide," she said. She also revealed that 19 people in the territory died of causes related to COVID-19 in August, which by far was their deadliest month, bringing the total to 56. Kamal, I do recall this variant being detected in the territory when we thought the Delta variant had hit the British Virgin Islands. At that time, like Dr. George has said, it was not an area of interest at the time. It was being looked at as one of the weaker variants. But now that things are heating up and they're discovering more about the virus, they're definitely looking at the damages that this virus can cause, and of course, measuring that against the protection of vaccines and whether it is indeed immune to the vaccine.
Well, indeed, and we also would have seen as of recent, the St. Vincent and the Grenadines government would have announced five of the variation of the mu detected in St. Vincent since between July and August, and they would have made that announcement yesterday. Obviously, with the other countries in the Caribbean now placing emphasis on that this new strain of the virus.
Yes.
And as we see, and that's, I guess that's where the health professionals continue to stress on the need for persons to become vaccinated. And as we become vaccinated, it's still seeing these new variants coming and also threatening that level of protection being placed on those persons receiving the vaccine. Well, viewers, moving on. Well, fully vaccinated persons traveling to the BVI will no longer have to wait hours or days for their travel authorization approval on the BVI Gateway Portal following the decision to automate all fully vaccinated applicants. But this was confirmed by the Premier Andrew Foy during a recent media conference where he said that his government listened to the cries of the public and made a number of adjustments to the portal, making it more user-friendly. Well, take a listen.
We met with the various stakeholders in the approval process, including the developers on the entry portal and health authorities on 23rd August 2021 and charted up a way forward. The way forward involves making some changes to the BVI Gateway Portal, which we hope will improve the ease of use of the system for our residents and visitors. We agreed to immediately remove the custom and immigration forms from the BVI Gateway entry portal. This would reduce the amount of time persons spend completing their applications. We are progressing to automate the process for fully vaccinated persons to get their approvals. The relevant officials have already taken steps for the modifications to be made to the portal. Under the previous system, all applications for fully vaccinated travelers, partially vaccinated travelers, and unvaccinated travelers were processed manually by a team of persons from various departments.
Well, viewers, the Premier also warned that in order for the process to be approved automatically for fully vaccinated applicants, they must first upload all the necessary documentation and in the required manner. He also said an additional layer of security will be in place that will select some fully vaccinated applicants and require them to verify their submitted documents.
Process for fully vaccinated persons being automated. Fully vaccinated persons will be able to get their travel authorization certificate automatically once they have uploaded their documents correctly at the time of registration. The system will automatically generate the traveler authorization certificate instead of it being done manually, as was the case in the past. I must emphasize that although the system is automated for fully vaccinated travelers, random review of approved applications will be made to further verify documentation. If any discrepancies are found, the approval will be immediately revoked. Additionally,
The Premier, who is also responsible for tourism, also said that all applicants who are not fully vaccinated, will have to continue to undergo a manual processing of their application for travel authorization approval.
unvaccinated and partially vaccinated persons will still be processed manually within an 8-hour window, but these represent only 5 to 10% of the overall traffic through the gateway. Therefore, once the unvaccinated or partially vaccinated passenger has submitted all the required documents to complete their application, they should be able to get a faster turnaround on their application within 8 hours. Unvaccinated and partially vaccinated persons must have a negative result for an approved RT-PCR test that is no older than 5 days upon their arrival in the Virgin Islands. I urge all intended travelers to complete their applications in a timely manner.
Well, in addition, the leader of government business said that to further improve the user-friendliness of the BVI Gateway Portal, a decision was made to implement several pop-up boxes which will be integrated on the site for passengers to verify that they have the requisite documents. Well, he also warned all applicants that a failure to provide authentic documentation upon entry into the territory will result in penalties of up to $10,000. Well, Javon, this is really great news for those persons who would have been having difficulties prior in terms of coming into the territory, where they would have had to wait several days, and then sometimes obviously having to reach out personally to persons to get the approval to come into the territory.
One thing's for sure, Kamal, we live in a jurisdiction that really competes for, as it relates to the tourism product. We have major competition within the region, and for sure one of the things that we've been hearing in recent times is the difficulty and the conditions to enter the BVI, how difficult that has been for so many persons. So I'm really happy to see us providing a more user-friendly process. The one concern that I have, that I believe I mentioned yesterday, is I hope that we have the ability to detect fraudulent documents, which has come to the forefront in recent times. The Premier, yes, did mention that random checks will be made, but we want to ensure that we foolproof this system as much as possible.
Indeed.
Viewers, it's still ahead of the break. Top doctor is now urging residents to abide by the health protocols and get vaccinated following the confirmation of the new variant in the BVI. And the COI met with another hurdle as the Attorney General requests for redaction of critical information that could impact the COI's investigation. We have all that and so much more right after this commercial break. Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Now some more local headlines. With the new variant of coronavirus now detected in the British Virgin Islands, Acting Chief Medical Officer Dr. Ronald Georges has once again reiterated the need for public compliance of protocols. Now, despite growing concerns of the variant's immunity to vaccination, Dr. Georges is now urging residents to get vaccinated in an effort to arrest possible spread, while global officials continue to investigate the new variant of interest.
So at this point, for us, it's really to be interested, to be on the lookout, and to continue to be vigilant to see what additional information comes up about it. In terms of what can we actually do other than being interested in getting the information, exactly what we've been saying all the time. adherence to the public health measures, vaccination. And those measures, basically, they're not going to change. Those are the tools we have to deal with variants and COVID.
Now, viewers, despite the public call to get persons immunized against the virus, vaccine hesitancy still continues to be a problem faced here in the territory. Dr. George's appeal to persons on the fence about the jab.
Some people are on the fence. And, as time progresses, there is more and more evidence about the benefits of vaccines. Of course, there are the detractors and the persons who look at, some of the negative things and, use that to push an agenda, etc., or whatever. But there's more and more evidence about vaccines and the impact that they have. And we're understanding more and more that the impact of vaccines really is in the limitation of the impact. Because initially there was a lot of discussion about herd immunity and various figures were bandied about. And then as the new variants, the more infectious variants came around, new figures were bandied about. And, essentially it's seen that vaccines are a powerful tool in terms of the reduction of the impact, and they also help when worked together with other public health measures to reduce infectiousness and the transmission in the population.
The acting CMO is also hopeful that the FDA's recent regulation of the Pfizer vaccine will help to boost confidence in the community on getting inoculated.
There was, I think, it was Pfizer vaccine that had full FDA approval. So I think that would be a big push for a number of people who are on the fence about the approvals. And I think as the months go by, we will see the other vaccines being able to present their information to the various regulators and moving from emergency use authorization to full approvals. And I think that as well would be quite a bit of a push for some people who may be on the fence.
Now, viewers, at this stage, it's unclear how much protection the vaccines offer against this variant. The Mu variant has a constellation of mutations that indicate potential properties of immune escape. This is according to the World Health Organization, who made that announcement in a statement last Tuesday, raising concerns that it may be more resistant to coronavirus vaccines than other variants. But this needs to be confirmed by other studies, the World Health Organization statement added. Now, viewers, the U.S. top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, said that while laboratory data had shown that the Mu variant can evade certain antibodies, among them those induced by vaccine shots, there is currently a lack of clinical data and other research involving people that shows this. He underscored that in general, vaccines remain effective and the best protection against the coronavirus. As of September 3rd, 2021, a total of 17,233 COVID-19 vaccines have been administered here in the territory. These include 14,074 fully vaccinated persons and 3,159 partially vaccinated.
Our viewers, moving on to the Commission of Inquiry, where the Commission of Inquiry has met yet another hurdle which threatens to pose further challenges in its investigation process following a new request by the Attorney General, Don Smith, to redact months-old testimonies relating to documents published on the radar barges and the UK military assistance. But this is according to the COI's attorneys Bilal Ruat, who made the comments on Tuesday, September 7th during a live hearing. Well, he said that the Attorney General was seeking redaction on a number of documents which, according to him, can be sorted into three main categories. Well, the first included redaction of email addresses and telephone numbers, which he said is not an issue of the Commission and is acceptable. However, he said the other two categories, cabinet documents and the national security, contain valuable information that is critical to the investigation process of the COI.
But the reason we don't accept it is what the IRU were asked to do was to provide a redacted version of the document with the redaction sort blanked out so they were not visible, and a shaded version which allowed the material sort to be redacted to be still visible. Yeah. They have done that, but there is a difficulty in assessing the redactions being sought because the translucent version and the blanked out version do not match. A second issue is that redaction is now being sought in relation to matters which were canvassed at hearings, and secondly, which relate to points that are made in the response. You'll remember, Commissioner, that yesterday Mr. Hyrie confirmed to you that no redaction of the response was being sought. What was being sought was redaction of the annexes, but the difficulty, of course, is that the response does not correspond to what is being sought in terms of the annexes.
However, also said that the Attorney General had ample time to request redactions of the documents prior to their publications, which have been on the COI's website for months. Well, he briefly cited 2 examples to justify why the information being sought for redaction is so critical to the COI's investigation process.
And to give 2 examples of matters that were canvassed at hearings, and I'll explain, and which are relied upon, and I'll give this more context. You'll remember that we, during private hearings, asked questions of members of the Joint Task Force in relation to easy shipping and the purchase of radar barges. Those were at that time private hearings, but the Attorney General was given time by you, Commissioner, to consider the transcript and seek any redactions that she wanted, including on the grounds of national security. The hearings transcripts were then published, and they have been on the COI's website for some considerable time. From those transcripts, it will become clear that I, on behalf of the Commission, asked questions of customs officials, of the former police commissioner, the chief of immigration, that related to the radar barges issue, and they gave answers, and we went into it in some considerable detail. But yet we find ourselves now in a position where what is being sought, and I can give these 2 examples because they've actually been publicly referred to, and in one case they are actually a matter of public record. But there was concern expressed, particularly by customs officers, over the use of smaller vessels, and that was used as a justification for moving into the radar barges contract. That was ventilated at the hearing. It is on the transcript. Similarly, the offer of assistance from the UK, of military assistance from the UK, was also something that was canvassed. These are matters which are relied on.
However, said these are all matters which are relied on by the COI, which conflicts with the interests of the COI. Well, he therefore advised the Attorney General to use the appropriate means to apply for an application of redaction, and said the time has come where officials should stop using public interest immunity as a means to have the information redacted from documents.
And to actually make an application. As I tried to explain yesterday, a party cannot just simply raise public interest immunity. As a category of exclusion, it falls to be determined. And what's needed is a proper application. What's needed now is a proper application that says, for example, the following parts of this document, redaction is being sought because it is not relevant. But if it is being sought on grounds of public interest immunity, the starting point is the concession is that it is relevant but sensitive. And what it then falls to you as commissioners to do is to determine where the balance lies. But in order to do that, you have to have a properly set out application that sets out the categories of national security that are engaged, that is presented in such a way, and it's known as the Part A, Part B process, such that Part A can be published and circulated to other participants if necessary, and Part B contains any submissions or information that is argued cannot be made so public.
Well, meanwhile, Commissioner Sir Gary Hickenbottom said he has no issue with granting the removal of the email addresses and telephone numbers. However, he said for redaction of the other two categories, which are the cabinet documents and the National Security Council documents, an application will have to be made. Well, he said that application should be made by 4 p.m. on Thursday, September 9th, and he will hear the application at 9:30 a.m. on Monday, September 13th. Well, Javon, yet again, we see here the Commissioner of Inquiry and the Commission of Inquiry having to express their difficulties in terms of being able to conduct their investigations.
Yes, and again, holding up the process. I think more than ever, persons really want for us to move through with the Commission of Inquiry, really get through it and move on to the next stage to really see what comes out of it. But with all of these hurdles, it's difficult to do that.
What I would have seen today during the initial opening of the COI, again, they would have been complaining yet again regarding some documents that were recently submitted by the government. We will have that story for you guys tomorrow. But basically, the attorney would have been stating that the government would have submitted a document of in excess of 1,000 pages. And they would have basically stated that it was not in terms of the format that was requested, in terms of how the document should have been submitted. So yet again, we see here again some more difficulties being faced by the COI, and this again prolongs the investigation process, and we would have seen already the date having to be extended and approved by the governor in terms of having that date, scheduled down later down to the end of the year, whereas it was originally scheduled to be completed within a couple months, but
yes,
now that was further pushed back, and it therefore then again pushed back the end result, because everyone wants to know at the end of the day what the COI will rule, what will happen after the investigation, what will happen to the territory, will there be any repercussions, will there be any recommendations that can be used, and everyone is keen to get this information, but it keeps being delayed in terms of the process.
And then there are those who argue that there is an agenda behind this. The one good thing about the COI and what is unraveling before our eyes is the fact that the public, members of the population, really have the equal opportunity to view for themselves. And many persons are tuning in to the COI. And as we can see on Facebook and all the various social media handles, persons are really lending to the conversation. So I'm happy to see us being involved in that process. Now, viewers, as we move on and look across the region, the Guyana government is now rejecting the agreement signed by the heads of delegation of the Bolivian Republic of Venezuela and the Unity Platform of Venezuela, uniting the country's claim to Guyana's Essequibo. Now, in a terse statement on Wednesday morning, the government of Guyana, through its Ministry of Foreign Affairs, said that the agreement, which was reportedly signed in Mexico on September 6, 2021, is an overt threat to the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Guyana. The president said, and I quote, "Guyana cannot be used as an altar of sacrifice for settlement of Venezuela's internal political differences." This was coming out of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, a statement, and they said that while the government of Guyana welcomes domestic accord within Venezuela, an agreement defying international law and process is not a basis for mediating harmony. The border controversy between Guyana and Venezuela is properly before the International Court of Justice and will remain there for a peaceful resolution, Guyana has maintained. Venezuela, in its agreement, rejects the International Court of Justice's declaration of jurisdiction over the issue and its urging of Guyana to engage in direct negotiations. Under this agreement, the two sides unite on the decades-old claim to Guyana's Essequibo, where, of course, majority of the newfound oil is found. Now, viewers, this territory includes several oil exploration rigs, which are currently producing some 120,000 barrels a day of crude from the Stabroek block. In Guyana, President Mohamed Irfan Ali is yet to meet with the opposition leader, Joseph Harmon, on this and many other issues of national interest. The president has called on the opposition leader to recognize him and his government that has been legitimately elected. Now, Kamal, this has been an ongoing conversation for quite a number of time, dating back years. I do recall back in the 1900s, Guyana and Venezuela having a feud over the border in that particular area. Now that oil has been discovered and oil that is set to revolutionize the economy of Guyana, here you see the fight coming to the forefront once again.
Indeed, and we also would have seen that obviously in terms of oil is a big issue. Oil is a breadwinner for most countries in terms of their GDP. And we would have seen that in the past in terms of cases with Trinidad and Tobago as well. And now we see it with Guyana. After that discovery they would have made, obviously new income into the territory. But viewers, that's all we have for today's newscast. I'm Kamal Haynes.
And my name is Javon Wilson. Bye-bye.